Dear learners, welcome to live teleconferencing system. In this session, we will discuss about the impact of social process on public policy. This topic is coming under the BPAC 106, Understanding Public Policy. This is the one of the core course of BA Public Administration in honors. This is Dr. A. Senthamizh Kanal from the Faculty of Public Administration, School of Social Sciences. Like public policy, we all know that whether the successful or failure of the government determined by the public policy only. If the government is successful, depends upon the public policy. If the government is failure, depends upon the public policy only. So what made that public policy? You know that public policy exists to serve the society. To serve the society, to make it better place to live. To serve the society, to make a better place to live. And also public policy is the expression of the will of the state to fulfill the needs and aspiration of the society. Like for example, will of the state means like it is a collective decisions and intentions of the government. Like collective decisions and intentions of the government in the sense like they used to work for the needs and aspiration of the society. How they used to work together like a policy and laws and the action. So these needs and aspirations are continuously shaped by the policy social process. Like for example, it always interchangeable, and and another thing you can say that society and human everything is interrelated only. Okay, since human being is a social animal, the interactions and response of an individual to group members among themselves create a social process. A person's needs and desires are a result of the social process only. Hence, public policy and social process are one or the other are related with each other and also affect each other immensely. Public policy, the aim is that it brings the social change and development. But this is not possible without understanding the social values, customs, beliefs and traditions of the people. No public policy works in a vacuum also. So you have to, before you want to make any public policy, you have to understand the social value, custom, belief and traditions of the people. So no public policy works in a vacuum, because by theoretical you can make many number of policy. Like for example, you can add anything, but if you won't focus upon the social values, customs and beliefs, it would be a vacuum only. Mostly if you see public policy it is affected its political, social, economic and cultural environment. In fact, public policy is a course of action. You know that it is a course of action by the state to satisfy the society and ensure the welfare and development of the society. Like for example, course of action taken by that state means it is a kind of a set of planned or proposed steps or strategies or measures to respond to the given situation, or you can say that to achieve the goal also. So public policy is a course of action taken by the government to satisfy the needs of the society. So without understanding the process of group dynamics of the society, no policy can bring the positive results. It needs to diagnose the social process, understand what values and customs hinder the process of development, so that it can replace the values with ones that are more facilitate and also. And if you look into that, public policy to be responsive, and it needs to be a concise social goals. All these needs, aspirations, values, customs and traditions, as well as social goals are shaped the social process of the society. Moreover, if you look into that, social process provide a framework to government, vision on social development, social action, social policy and social administration. What that, according to Professor Richard Tetmer, says that social administration may broadly defined as the study of social services which subject is the improvement of the conditions of the life of the individual in the setting of the family and the group relations. It is concerned with the historical development of these services, both authority and you can say statutory, voluntary, that, and with the moral values implicit in the social actions, with the rules and functions of the services, and with their economic aspects, with the part they play in meeting certain needs in the social process. Like for example, if you like, why the social policies are more important? If you want to bring any change in the society, you have to bring, like for example, if the region is backward region, you have to bring back the education. You have to focus upon the social factor like education, health, and employment opportunity. So these are things are more important to bring the social development. Hence, what the issue is that public policy is greatly molded by the needs of the society, which are a results of a various social process of the society. As a student of public administration, you people already know that whenever you are making any public policy, the first goal is that identification of the problem. You can't make policy on their own, or you can't make the policy, that in a vague manner. You have to make the policy based upon the demand only. So, social process is that social policy, I can say that it is greatly molded, our public policy is more greatly molded by the needs of the society. This creates a close relationship between social process and public policy. Normally, social processes determine the nature and scope of the public policy. Where the state is policy try to create positive social process, and it always used to eliminate the negative ones. This is simply you can say that amply visible in social policy, which means to solution to the people problems, needs, wishes, and ambitions of the society. It used to change due to various social process, social structure, development policy of the state. So every social process has a positive and a negative impact on the social needs, and the government must shape or reshape its policy accordingly. When it comes to, like for example, if you social process, so what do you mean by social process? As a human being, as I mentioned earlier also, so human being is a social cultural thing who lives in a society, mingles with the other people of the society. Okay, human being is a social animal. They always lives within a society, and they used to mingle with the other people in the society. With these instructions and are repeated over time, and this result is called the social process. The fundamental way, that the fundamental way which people establish social relations and interact called the social process. Social interaction normally occurs in the form of, like for example, accommodation, assimilation, cooperation, competition, and the conflict. Like for example, this social process, that form of interaction among individuals, we can divide it into two types. One is that conjunctive social process, and another one is the disconjunctive social process. The conjunctive social process is the connective with everything, and disjunctive process, social process is it's like a lack of connection, or you can say lack of consistency. In the conjunctive social process, there are three types of there. One is that cooperation, accommodation, assimilation. And the disjunctive social process, there are two things are there. In that one is that competition and conflict. When it comes to conjunctive social process, cooperation means people working together for the shared rewards. Okay, this becomes the basis of the society, association of the society, giving various policy inputs affect the output. Like for example, you can say that cooperation, whenever you are making a public policy, okay, in the society, one thing is suitable for others, another thing is not suitable for others. So there was something like, if you have a cooperated effect, okay, it always, or otherwise you can say that when you are working together, it provides the shared rewards. Okay, this becomes the association of the society. And another thing is that accommodation. Accommodation is called it is a result of social process. For a social, if any product or any process, any policy is to sustain first, the conflict must go away, and the negotiation and accommodation has to keep it there. Like for example, riots, war, terrorism are examples of the social process of conflicts. To be able to that conduct a leadership is also a social process. A person has to be directive of the others to achieve the common goal. So all these social process, in one or the other way, they develop ideas, beliefs, and you can say that needs also. They used to frame the policy debate, they develop some interest and the other priorities. So social process also help to state to identify, and you can say that legitimate participation of the social process, so pointing out the various conflicts of the interest. And if you look into the assimilation in the sense, it is a kind of a interaction between different groups when there is a mutual interchange of cultural resulting in shared beliefs. We eventually find out that major social activities are social process, either by assimilating the values or the competing the values. For example, education is the social process, developing a new skills, viewpoints, knowledge in the individual. But motivation is also socio-psychological approach, which increases the desires and capacity of an individual to perform an activity and all. When it comes to, if you look into that conjunctive, like for example, if you say conjunctive social process, it used to happen through cooperation, accommodation, and assimilation. But when it comes to disjunctive social process, competition and conflict, these are you can consider as a negative, because why I'm saying that conflict is a negative social process. In this, individual or group, they try to gain reward by other competitors, to prevent the other competitors to for effective competition and eliminating and the weakening opponents. What they used to do is that they used to destroy the competitors. Competition is always based upon the rules and regulation. In a competitive context, a person tries to attain the reward by surpassing the outgoing the opponent. And when it comes to competition and conflict, exist in a society in a different form. Like for example, it is a various form, various degree, scope and intensity. For example, if you take into the context of United States of America, competition has given way to capitalism and the state policy of non-interference and the free market economy. Whereas if you come into the in China, competition has made the government control extensive, as a government enables the Chinese industry to compete with the entire worldwide, directly involving its excessive control over the market. So in that way, you can say that whether whether these are like that conjunctive and the disconjunctive social process, you can say that when it comes to, when we are in a group, when it in a working for a social cause, when you're working for in a particular development, then the cooperation, accommodation and assimilations are more important than anything. And if you come into the policy, social policy, what is the meaning and the nature of the social policy? Okay, so far we have seen about the social process. Now we are going to about the what do you mean by social policy. Social policy, that usually within a government or political setting, it is a in a welfare state, you can say that it is a study of social services. Okay, social policy consists of guidelines, principles, legislations and activity that affect their living conditions, which are conducive to human welfare, such as the person's quality of life also. Social policy includes program related to welfare and quality of life. It that it involves programs like policies and programs like education, health, housing, equal distribution of work and social work. It deals with the elderly people with disabilities, issues of poverty and unemployment also. So social policy depends on social needs and the nature of all the agencies which address them. We know that governance is not about the government. Many stakeholders are involvement. So the NGOs, charities and the public-private sectors all are engaged with the social welfare along with the state. So social policy is a state's mechanism to respond to socio-economic changes with the challenges of globalism, poverty and the mitigation. Like for example, normally social policy mainly include social security, education, health, and service. It also social policy tries to reduce the inequality on the basis of gender, age, socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, and the disability. In the view of Marshall, what he was saying that social policy refers to the government's policy of governments with regard to action having direct impact on the welfare of the citizens. Mostly social policy is concerned with the equality, or you can say that the it brings the socio-economic justice. It strives for the egalitarian society, and also, like for example, based upon that, we can say that there are few policies are there. That is what the objectives of social policies are. The main objectives are it wants to achieve an egalitarian society. In an egalitarian society is like to bring a equality, bring all. And the another important that is that it aims to social change, so that social reduce tensions are reduced and the cordial society is created, and it used to it aims the welfare of weaker section of the society, and it used to help the people to improve the quality of life, and it used to ensure the minimum wages and the minimum standards of income maintenance, and also it used to provide the positive discrimination, and it used to help in the redistribution of the resources. So based on the objectives of the social policy, the idea of social policy welfare is constructed by the social welfare process only. What is welfare for one country may not needed to all the other country. For example, sometime like for example, in India we have a reservation and the positive due to some kind of a positive discrimination of the society, but these kind of things it won't to affect to the other parts of the world. So this is due to certain social process exists in India, like you can say that age-old caste system, gender equality, exploitation of the lower caste by the upper caste. But if you compare to the Western countries, the other issues like race and inequality which require social policy. Here, there are some common activities like health, pension, education, which are considered the welfare activities cutting across the country. And also there is a gap between rich and poor, educated and uneducated, old and young people growing wider. So social policy is enhancing its scope by the all those who are vulnerable, and also. And when it comes to that there are two kinds of models are there social policy in public policy model, in that you can say that social process model is, we can say that there is two kinds of model is there. One is the process model of public policy, and another one is the systems model of public policy. In the process model of public policy is not an isolated activity. Normally public policies are not an isolated activity. In fact, there is a policy process that is continuously growing, evolving. So process model talks about the entire process of policy from formulation to evaluation. So according to the process model of public policy, there are 5 stages of policy process are there. One is that identification of problem that calls for government in action. Okay, first you have to identify the problem that calls for government action, and the second one, response of political parties. Okay, response of political party to problems in forms of various policies, and third one is policy legitimating, and that is like a selection of most favorable policy and enactment in legislature, and implementation of enactment of policy and evaluation of policy based on the feedback. So in all the stages of policy process, social processes makes the contribution. Okay, so policy process interacts and adjusts itself with the social process. In fact, these social process that attract the attention of political system towards any issue, like for example social process through cooperation or conflict, it draws government attention to a specific issues or any problem. After taking notice of the issue, government are and mainly political parties come out with their own policy on that issue. Both started selling their policy to public to trying to have public opinion on the other side. When the social process and the policy issues focus on the same issue, it becomes necessary for legislature to address it. So the policy is placed before the legislature for discussion and enactment. During the enactment of public policy, political representative tries to justify their policy in views of the time and the public demands. They keep a proper watch on the social process that are going on and act accordingly. When a policy goes for implementation, the policy process and social process are in a direct intentions, and when public expresses its satisfaction, or you can say that problem with the policies framed, there is an that is also there. And another important stage is that various social process and government measures goes for a public opinion. And also at every stage of policy process, the social process used to influence it. For example, in 2010, a large number of people came together for fight corruption in administration. This is evident in the mass of Jan Lokpal movement, and it is started in New Delhi. The support it received from the large section of the society speaks a lot of social solidarity and its impact on the public policy. And when government came with the Lokpal draft bill, public expressed their view freely and demanded the provisions of that draft also, that civil society draft also incorporate into also. And another model of public policy is that systems model. System models, actually it used to help us to analyze the impact of social process and public policy. Okay, David Eason has founded this policy model. This system model is helps the analysis of political system. The system model is equally applicable to policy process also, as the political system takes the input from the government in the form of demands and supports through its institutions, personnel, and policy making, and they used to convert input and output, which can be modified on the basis of feedback. Basically, system theory is like that. There are various environment also there. Various players used to actively participate. When their interaction, after the interaction, they used to get the input would be converted into the output. Based on the output converted, again it would be goes as a feedback. That feedback as goes as the input. Actually, it is like a collection of various group of player interrelationship with each other, and they used to get a feedback, and that feedback converted into as a input. So the system model is fully based upon the social process, because it is the social process. It used to raise the demands on the government, and the government try to convert these demand into the output in the form of various policies and programs. For example, you can say that due to social attitudes and values, the status of girls child is not good, especially in villages and the small towns. Many technological amendments also, advancement also misused to help those who decide a male child over a female child. So the alarming decrease in sex ratio also not good for the society and all. So this made the government initiate many policies to arrest it. So government had brought out a new output policy in the form of preconception and prenatal diagnostic technique in 1994. By this act, sex determination of the child before birth has been prohibited. Besides this, the government has initiated a various social scheme to uplift the various girl child, like for example Rashtriya Mahila Kosh and Dhanlakshmi scheme, mother and child tracking system, Pradhan Mantri Matriva Vandana Yojana, Beti Bachao Beti Batao, and Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, Central Board of Secondary Education Udan scheme, among many others. So these social schemes give teeth to the social policy and all. So another demand are mainstreaming women in policies also considered, which took shape in the 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment. They have proved to be a milestone amendments. They have given a 1/3 reservation to the women candidates in the panchayat and all local bodies in respectively also. So when it comes to why it happened, Why they have given a more importance to the women and everything is that it depends upon the needs and section of the society based upon the feedback from the people. So towards the end that we can say that based on the above discussion, we can say that most of the social policies are shaped by the social process. So social process play a very important and the determined role. They used to generate demand, and based upon the demand, the government used to act, and based upon the action, and the government used to make a policy if it is required. They also affect other fields also, socio and economic. So socio process is it's a kind of a shared beliefs and the values. They able to offer explanation to the linkages of one particular public policy and its desired income. So they decide and what issue government should act and what to the extent also. And it positive social policy process also it used to record for any stable government. And so towards the end that most of the public policy, like for public policy, it three stages are there: pre, during, and the post. In the pre, based upon the demands only. That demands used to be determined by the social process of the section of the society. So thank you. Thanks a lot for listening.